cover. You like that?
Saw it, yeah.
Yeah, it was sexy cover.
Huh.
Attractive.
Tim just logged on to PUBG.
Tim
Tim
Myers?
Myers. Yeah, he actually plays video games till late at night.
What?
It's unbelievable.
He get divorced?
Yeah.
No, he did not get divorced.
Is he gonna get divorced?
I don't know. All right. Anyway, welcome to the Practical Pistol Show. My name's Ben.
Sorry,
Here to answer
Tim.
your shooting questions.
Don't let your wife listen to this one.
Oh, she does. I can assure you, she's not. On deck today, we got Mr. Hansa Kim
Hello.
and Mr. Hoppy Cakes.
Hi.
Hi. All right, let's jump right into the questions, guys, because that's what people like here. This first one, I like this question. I think it's interesting. Do you think USPSA should have rules that attempt to alleviate the competitive inequity caused by environmental factors? Don't you think it is necessary considering how winners are sometimes determined by just a few points or less? For example, at the recent Florida Open, there were 2 stages with far targets, 25 to 30 yards. If your squad shot those stages in the early morning, you had sunlight in your eyes. Perhaps even more detrimental is the fact that your sights are reflecting sunlight. Now, this isn't a huge deal on most stages, even if the stage has a couple of far targets, but this stage had 12 classic targets, 25 to 30 yards. Yes, 12. There was no way to get closer. You had to take him at that distance. Pretty certain that most people can't hit the A zone on 12 targets at that distance under these conditions in slow fire. Some of the shooters on my squad had to reshoot that stage due to incorrect starting position later in the day. They admitted it was much easier to hit the targets. This isn't to criticize the Florida Open or Universal Shooting Academy. I think they hosted a great match, one of the best I've ever shot, but this was an issue I experienced and something other shooters certainly experienced as well. Thoughts, comments, possible solutions to mitigate situations like this? Hopkins, what is the only solution that we're aware of?
The only solution is have people that are competing against each other shoot at the same time, so they're all basically in the same conditions. But that doesn't even work because at that range,
Well,
I
at
don't
that
like
range,
to
you're
shit
gonna
on the
get
range.
boned at some point at that range, right?
Yeah, either in the morning or afternoon usually.
Yeah.
But your squad could be shooting the stage, and if you're first up on it, you have the sun is behind the berm. But if you're fifth up on it, it'll be over the berm. So you can't even really say they're equal conditions with the same squad. You can't get them 100% equal.
Yeah. Not a good situation.
No.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing that we really have now is the super squatting at big national matches. Is there super squatting at this year's nationals, Hopkins?
I don't have any idea. I haven't even registered yet.
It wouldn't shock me if there's not. That's just me. Kim, are you aware of any other solution? Have the same people shoot at the same time?
Well, of course, there's ranges that has all the berms in same directions.
Well, sure, but then there's things like rain. There's whatever.
Wind.
Any other sort of environmental factor could come up. Wind
So-
would be a big deal at rifle matches.
Or especially poppers. They could change popper calibrations and all that, which is another. I don't think we want to go down that.
I heard that
road.
popper calibration is fine, so I don't know.
Well,
I have to
Major
assume it's
matches, major matches, just so difficult to get everybody shooting at the same day. Especially level nationals or world championship kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, at the World
This is-
Championships, they put all the teams in the same division shot the same zone at the same time.
Mhm.
So they did do that at the World Championships.
Yeah. Just
but there
people,
were people
people
off
have
the
to learn.
schedule than the teams that finished on the podium
Yes, there
in
were.
certain divisions. So
Yes.
that can't even be said for a world level match, really.
But I mean, so then the question is this a real issue?
I don't think so. Because not everybody, but most people will have that kind of difficulty at some point. Some people more or less.
So let's
on
say
a
you
better
shoot a major
stage.
match on a Friday. You shoot the whole match in one day. Somebody else shoots it on Sunday, and it's a torrential rain on that day.
It sucks. It sucks for them.
It does suck for them.
Yeah.
So is this a real issue?
Probably
I
sometimes.
mean, how far do you want to take it if it's an issue?
I don't know. I'm just
Like-
asking questions.
Local matches probably not an issue because it's local. It's level
Yeah.
1, right?
Level 1, baby. It doesn't matter.
So, do we worry about it at state matches? Do we worry about area matches, nationals? Like, I don't know. I guess the leadership needs to. Why? Why are you laughing, Ben?
I don't know. Just the way you said leadership sounded passive aggressive to me.
Come on. Like, hold on. If people have an issue with it, they need to talk to their area directors. Area? Stop. Stop. I'm trying to be serious.
Are you?
I'm
Come
trying to
on.
be serious.
They don't give a fuck. Are you? You can't be
Well,
serious.
that's the only way they'll bring it up. And then,
They don't care.
well,
They just don't care. I don't know what to tell you.
The first nationals I shot, it was pouring rain in the morning. So basically, the match director, I think, stopped the match until the rain stopped. But if there's some serious wind going on,
Yeah.
or sometimes like this guy says, sun shining up on you, I don't think that's a common issue for everybody. It's just that one bay or one ray of bay. So I think these people has to learn how to shoot it in wind or how to shoot in facing the sun kind of thing.
Yes. Well, as a competitor, like this is, I understand this is the way it is, and it sometimes there's stuff that you will deal with that will maybe not be fair. You won't like it. Like you shoot the big field course in the pouring rain when the other guys shot in the morning and it didn't rain. Like whatever. Like that's just the way it is. If you're the match director, like especially if I was nationals match director, it would be like the guys competing in that division are all shooting the same stages on at the same time of the same day. You know, just period. And I wouldn't give them a choice on it. It would just be this is the way it is and fuck you.
I like that idea.
Yeah, that's my read on it.
anybody that wants competitive equity should see it that way.
Yes, but as a competitor, it's like I'm like fuck me. I guess I'm shooting this one into the sun. I'm like, okay, you know.
I mean, there's like what I've seen at the range. I've seen some pretty ridiculous stuff where people have like took cardboard targets out of the trash can and like made bills that are like this long, like 12 inches long, to try to block the sun from them. There's a lot of pretty like crazy stuff that you'll see if you get one of those stages where you're shooting in the sun.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Of course, at the first nationals I ever shot, I shot a different schedule than the Super Squad, and like they proned out on one stage, forced you to go prone, and the Super Squad proned out in a puddle,
I saw that.
and I
yeah.
didn't have to do that, and I thought that was hysterical. Wasn't exactly fair, but it was funny. All right, well, shall we move on to the next question, gentlemen?
Yes.
Ben, I currently have two problems with my dry fire training. All right, and I cut one of them because we didn't understand it. All right, in my dry fire, I train index at random targets. Draw and align the sights without pulling the trigger. That's what he means by index. Okay, I am always consistent, doing between 0.6 and 1.0 seconds, depending on the target. That sounds like about the right range. 0.6 for the close ones that you are facing and you draw down on them. 1 second if it's a tougher target, you got to turn in something or something like that. Okay, my sights are stable and aligned perfect at the end. Can't complain about grip either. However, training transitions from the same position and with the same target arrangement, but with a trigger pull, my index gets worse. Sights are not always aligned to my eye and I waste time searching them. Grip is not consistent. What's the problem? Okay, so just to reiterate what the problem is, if he's transitioning from the same position with the same target arrangement with a trigger pull, his index actually gets worse. What do you make of that, Kim?
Well, first, I personally think one of the biggest effects or how to get the sight aligned when you pull the gun up to the target, I think the right hand in alignment with the gun So, when you punch out the gun, your arms straight to the target, and then the gun relationship to your hand should be straight in between the target too. But if there's any right hand finger, so trigger finger movement, it can disturb your gun in your hand. So if the gun is not in straight line with the target and your hand or your arm, I think that can happen. The side picture may not be aligned, the index may be disturbed. So I think try to make sure the right hand alignment to the target. I think that could be the issue.
Yeah. What do you think, Hopkins?
I don't understand why him pulling the trigger has any effect on this.
Well, what I've seen and what I think is kind of true for practical shooting is the more elements you add in to your training, the more things you're trying to train at once, the harder everything gets. So if he's standing there drawing onto the target without pulling the trigger, he's just drawing, focusing on gripping the gun, getting a good sight picture. That's one thing. But then adding in, pulling the trigger, adding in transitions, the more stuff you add in, the harder everything gets. And you'll kind of see that play out. Like Hopkins, you train with other guys that are lower level than you. And if you're just standing there trying to bust off fast draws, they can come very close to what you can do. But then the more and more elements you add in, the further and further back they fall, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, distance always creates issues.
Distance, or like, let's say now we're going to shoot a full stage, and then they're seconds behind. Whereas they're very, very close, almost indistinguishable on any sort of very small, simple drill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is what I think is going on. So the idea here is to add in elements carefully, and then notice that there's more problems, and then react accordingly. So I wouldn't expect to be able to produce the same draw and sight picture in a complicated drill. So let's say I'm shooting a classifier or training on a classifier where it's 12 rounds, a draw and a reload or something like that. I wouldn't expect the draw to be as good as if I'm just training the draw. Okay, so part of this is his expectations, which need to change a little bit. Does that make sense?
I mean, that same thing is about stages. You're never going to see a draw where if you were just like standing there doing a one-shot draw, you're not going to see those times when you're doing a 32-round stage.
Of course not. No, you will not. All right, Kim, anything to say about that?
Yeah. So, like just Matt said, sometimes we need to draw straight facing to the target, sometimes uprange or sideways, whatever. So it depends on your body orientation. When you draw, it may be different than you're just facing straight forward. So I think I would recommend practicing all of that and pay a great attention how your right hand feels on the gun, or both hands, support hand. So try to make that same feeling or same grip every single time in every scenario.
Yeah, and that's a good way. That's a good way of looking at it. Do the same stuff.
So would you like slowly add one thing?
Yes.
So he should add like one element after the draw, and then like something till you can like work up and do like a whole stage.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, draw to a target. Okay, draw to a target in one transition. All right. You notices some problems there. Okay, step and draw to a target. Right. Step and draw to a target and a transition. Like simple little things, like changing around different elements. Instead of drawing, maybe pick the gun up off a table and point it to a target. Okay, pick the gun up off the table, step a couple times and point to a target. Things like that. And keep playing around with the way he's approaching it, where it's not always just stand there and draw, or stand there and draw, then transition. It's different things. So he gets used to how it'll be on stages, which is, variable. You never really know what it's going to be. That makes sense to you, Hopkins?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, another bang up podcast, I think. Listeners, if you have a shooting question you'd like the answer to, head over to benseger.com, send us your questions. We'd love to answer them for you. especially Kim. He's very excited. So, but yeah,
Yes.
send us your questions. We'll answer them for you. And shit, is there any business stuff going on?
I
No.
don't have anything right now.
Slow time. Slow time.
Start of the year, man.
It is the start of the year. All right. Well, time to kill this fucking feed then.